This is a film about finding your fatal flaw. Now, we all have weaknesses. Weaknesses we can work on. Your fatal flaw you need help with. One of my weaknesses is time management, hence why for this video and the next 3 videos you've got to follow me around, because I've overstretched myself. But that's not my fatal flaw. Why have I overstretched myself? Because I overpromised. Another weakness. 8 weeks ago I said I would do weekly videos on this channel, which is freshly branded to Art Loud, and I would do it consistently. Clear a space in the studio and do some podcasts. But I have so much stuff and I'm messy. Another weakness, but not a fatal flaw, because I can be quite organized and there is some method in this chaos. I can mitigate the mess by reducing the space in which I work in and having most of it as storage. So being messy isn't really a fatal flaw, it's just something I need to work on. But I can't make more space because I have tons of started and unfinished paintings. Another weakness, finishing the thing. But I also do get a lot done, so it's not a fatal flaw. The problem is right now there is a huge backlog of unfinished work. I can't even get to my desk. And that's when I got a message from my mate, Ed.
What's up, Sam? One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was about an exhibition, sort of ASAP Rocky. I want to call it Draw a Line Under It. I don't know if you're up for it.
And I thought, fuck it, let's do it. So we booked out a warehouse, which we're going to fill for a whole week at the end of December. And we're going to turn it into a live studio and just get all of this work finished and loads of work up on the walls. And I thought I had plenty of time. I'd probably have a month to work towards this at the end of the year. It's in 3 weeks' time. In a classic case of overpromising, I've forgotten how busy it is this time of year in the run up to Christmas. Well, that reminds me. I told my mum I'd put some Christmas tree lights up in her garden. Overpromising isn't always a problem, because I also work quite well under pressure. So it's not a fatal flaw, it's an annoying weakness. I just wish I didn't have to manufacture it in order to do anything. Because putting up Christmas lights for my mum's front garden is not sorting out the studio. I am actually planning to make a video about this tree, because while I don't live here anymore, this tree used to be this high. It's funny how there are strange constants in your life that you don't really realise until you get a bit older. And this tree is one for me. I've hidden under it, locked out in the rain as a teenager. Every year I prune it back. Family arguments around it, storm outs past it. Kids along this road know it as the Christmas pudding tree house. Oh, that reminds me, I want to show you something. This is me as a tiny person asleep under the exact same tree. I used to have a little red chair underneath it, and I would go and sit there and I would often take little naps. It's quite hard now to imagine walking past the front garden now and seeing a toddler asleep under a tree, but it was the 80s. That brings me to another weakness. I get quite distracted. In my studio, I deliberately don't have any Wi-Fi, I don't have phone signal, and I don't have a TV. So there is no way I can get distracted. So it's not a fatal flaw because I can work with it in myself. It will just become unmuggled. It will.
Hello.
Yeah. Now this is where it gets hard. When I was at school, I was severely dyslexic, so I couldn't really spell. And I was entitled to extra time in exams. And after talking to my mum at the time, we agreed that I wouldn't take the extra time because we'd noticed that many of the really creative people who I admired were also dyslexic, and they just had strengths in that different area.
My halo, look.
Now, I'm not suggesting that anyone doesn't get help if they need it. But I would also recommend to think that sometimes the things that you see as weaknesses in comparison to other people may also have a side that's a super strength. You might just not have found it yet. Just as many people may say that all of my scatty behaviors you've seen in this video might be indicative of something like ADHD, maybe, but I actually see all of them as positives in a similar way to the dyslexia one. I enjoy the messiness that comes with the process of painting. I enjoy getting distracted sometimes because it means that I see this glimmering, wonderful bit of inspiration that I'd otherwise miss. And fundamentally, I can work on all of them. Just like I have to go to my office now, which is not where my studio is. Not because of the no Wi-Fi rule, because I am messy. I would get paint on my keyboard and I would spill white spirit on my hard drives in a nanosecond. Me being someone who overpromises, gets distracted, is messy, is bad at time management and procrastinates, I also have a massive deadline due on my day job for next week. And ironically, my day job is making videos. So I work above a bakery, and another weakness of mine might be that I like pastries. Now, no one is going to sympathize with me here, but you can only have so many free pastries before you start to realize putting on 10 kilos that working above a bakery is like torture. Again, not a fatal flaw because I can mitigate it. I only have a pastry on a Friday and maybe a few other days. It would be so much easier if I could have my office space and my studio space in the same space. But I can't because of my weaknesses. And it also brings a lot of benefits. As often, to be creative and successful, you need two modes of thinking. This is why successful artists don't mind galleries who take 50%. While 50% of the success of a work is making it, the other 50 is getting it out there. So now that I'm in the office, I'm going to quickly edit this video, and then I'm going to edit videos for my day job, so that next week I can spend entirely painting to get ready for the show, and then the final week painting live in the show. So the next 3 videos are going to be following these 3 bonkers weeks. And the show is going to happen, and it's going to be brilliant because my fatal flaw is self-sabotage. Specifically creative self-sabotage, because I have made art since before I can remember. But whenever something gets some traction or too many compliments, I tell myself that it's too commercial, it's base, it's derived, or it's unauthentic. These are totally manufactured narratives. I come from a very artistic family of lots of artists who have held up the idea of the glorious amateur, and that any creative success should be severely questioned. However, the members of my family who have promoted that have since had success, which makes the whole idea now of artistic integrity confusing. My rebellion was to go and study engineering as a degree, just like someone who maybe came from a very engineering heavy family might rebel by going to art school. But let me make it clear, I love my family, but if you have any wild, mad artists in your family, you know what I mean. The problem is, as I've got older, I've realized as much as I may not get on with them, I am one of them. So how do you overcome your fatal flaw? You have to admit you have it, and you have to have help. And who's helping me here? Well, unwittingly and unknowingly, it's my mate Ed. Because this is not my show. This is a joint show. It's our show. And I am not going to let someone else down. It's about 2 artists drawing a line under all of the work that they have and starting afresh. The show perfectly is about work that's got stuck. And however it goes, I'm going to see this as a way of drawing a line under my fatal flaw. If I can use the tide of my art to lift other boats, then I will happily flood the world with my art. So I'm going to get this edit done now. And next week I will be in the studio. See you next Monday.